Three, two, one. We're live, bud. How you doing, man?
Good, brother. Good. Cannot complain. Played some D&D last night.
I hear.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Tell me about it. What happened? What'd you do?
Well, uh, basically, this was the final session to wrap up the major story arc
Mm-hmm.
of our campaign. We've been doing Storm King's Thunder for a long-ass time. It's been basically a lot of homebrew variations in there.
Mm-hmm.
They've really been taking a lot of time with a lot of backstory stuff, so they've had a lot of fun with it. But they defeated the big bad Emerith previous session last week, and then last night we do a weekly game every Thursday night. They had to basically get out, and
Mm-hmm.
they had two bodies with them that they had to take with them. No spoilers for those of you who are doing Storm King's Thunder. But basically, they had to go get another one of their people that they came there with, and they're in a separate chamber, and it's this massive, it's like a hatchery for purple wormlings.
Oh,
And
dang.
it was, yes, it's a pretty cool situation. And there was like hundreds of goblins. And the way that I kind of illustrated it is the party had gotten separated, and the storm giant that they were with went to this chamber, and they went to the other chamber to fight off Eve, and just got separated in the fray of it.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever they walked into this chamber, she had some sort of a silent spell that she had cast to keep herself quiet to not attract the purple worms. Which, now that I think of it, doesn't make sense because they've got tremor sense, but whatever.
It's all good.
Yeah, loopholes.
Yeah.
Nobody called me out about it last night, so whatever. But essentially, she had fallen into this chamber from the ceiling above, and that's where the gargoyles were. They're trying to come in from above. So she had cast a spell to hold them at bay, and she is basically doing that and holding out until the party could make their way to them. And of course, the party made their way in and had a pretty cool build set up. I was super proud of it. And I was mentioning to you before we started, I don't sleep that great sometimes during the week. But I love it because it's like when I'm the most creative. So I did like my campaign notes. I used a little bit of crafting, and I didn't have any purple wormling miniatures. I don't know if they make any of those. So I made my own. So this is actually something that I built for the pit.
Oh,
it looks very
damn,
phallic. Unfortunately, I didn't realize it until afterwards. But you got these like little purple wormlings with their bloody mouths open, and I put some like rocks around the head, their heads, I guess that's what you're gonna call it, for like their serrated teeth.
Damn.
And like purple worms have like that white goop, and I use a glue gun, and you can see like these skulls that are in there. They're actually from like some Mardi Gras beads that I got from an event in Tampa here. I put them down, put some Mod Podge on them, spray painted them, primed them, and then went through and painted them.
Dude, that's
some like gory guts. And then of course I had to make some actual like purple worm leans because
of course.
So I basically made these like little skewers and put hot glue around them and like stuck them into these little pieces of pink foam. And painted them up real quick.
That's about, like, legit, dude.
Yeah, like 10 of these things running around.
Holy shit.
So it was really cool.
You see, and that's the type of stuff, man. I mean, I see, and for the folks at home listening to this, you've heard Cameron before on different variations. Cameron and I, it's funny and it's ironic. We've never met in person. We haven't met in person just yet, but we have pretty casual conversations as if we have, and we've known each other for a while. And, I talk to the audience a lot about you and the D&D Coalition. I've met a lot of my friends from the D&D Coalition. And, for the folks listening right now, Cameron has been not only a huge friend, but a supporter of the Bearded Nerd Crew. As you may see or know from his images, he too has a great beard and is therefore part of the Bearded Nerd Crew by just that association. But with all kidding aside, I mean, Cameron, you've been with you're the mind behind the D&D Coalition. You brought folks together. For those in the audience who haven't heard just yet of your story, because again, I share a lot of your stuff. I talk a lot on the show about the cool things that we've done through the coalition. do you mind explaining a little bit to the audience what the D&D Coalition is at heart?
Sure. So I guess I'll paraphrase Anthony from Investigation Check of what him and I were at a coffee. He's actually here, lives here in Tampa. And he used the term, it is a curation of creatives. And how it really all got started was I was making a lot of content for my D&D game, my home game. And to be 100% transparent, I felt like they were very underappreciative of some of the things I was doing, and the terrain that I'd go to lengths to build and what have you. And I wasn't resentful by any means, but I wanted to share that with somebody, and someone just be goggling over it, oh, that's cool. And then I just started posting stuff to Instagram, and have a little bit of knowledge about Instagram, worked with some businesses helping their online strategies for virtual storefronts and what have you. And it just kind of took off. And as I would meet people within the community, fellow creatives that would also make content and invest time in their brands, and kind of take the content creation beyond just a hobby, and they want to share it with their audience, and put their stuff out there on social media or just the internet in general, for better or for worse. And I essentially just I met all these great, awesome people, and I just wanted those great, awesome people to be able to meet each other.
Yeah.
And then so thus started the coalition, which is just this ever-growing group of creatives.
Yeah, I mean, you created a network of people, man. You've created a network of people to meet and talk and hang out, game together. You've created that a bit, but you've created that ability for content creators and for others in the D&D community, in the hobby. And I feel like, I don't know about you. Sometimes I feel like being, calling ourselves content creators, and a lot of other people's views, it's a bit of a re-education, because they see content creator and they think, oh, well, they're just trying to monetize from the hobby. And yeah, I mean, we're in a $7.2 billion industry. Those are facts. But we're content creators because we love this hobby. This hobby in some way has helped us go through something in life, or just is an awesome ass hobby. I'm sorry, tabletop gaming. I'd rather spend hundreds of dollars doing tabletop gaming, activities, going to conventions, than spending hundreds of dollars going to a bar, right? That's just me. So what's the difference in that aspect, right? What's the difference in that perspective? But something that I know that you've done a lot too is you have really built others up. And one thing that I admire about that is your willingness to build others up. So, with that being said, how do you perceive tabletop, the tabletop community right now? Because Instagram, I feel like we've met a lot of cool people. Dan, the Inked Mage, Epic Jim, all these awesome creators. And then there's other social media places, let's say, that are just really, they're assholes, to say the least. They're very toxic. How do you see that playing out right now?
I always grew up with the saying, and my parents would always kind of say this to me: if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
And
same.
for someone who has, I guess, vomit mouth, I need to say things all the time, there's this incessant need to talk and make noises and blah blah blah. I've always tried to take that to heart, and it's the same thing when it comes to social media. Is yes, of course, there's assholes everywhere. There's assholes in the Instagram community, in the Facebook community, Twitter, YouTube, whatever. And that is inevitable. That's going to be anywhere you go for always. Absolutely. And for the remainder of time. And I guess the thing that you can do is control how you perceive that, and limit your exposure to it. Yeah. And you can always control how you respond to things like that. Yeah. Jocko, the Jocko Podcast, Jocko Willenick, I love that dude. He's pretty rad dude, pretty extreme.
If the audience doesn't know Jocko, I would highly recommend, after this episode, obviously, go listen to go subscribe to Jocko Willenick. He is former Navy SEAL. He's a badass Dude is just badass. Like, you look at his Instagram profile, like black and white. He takes a picture 4:34 or 4:30, something around that time every morning.
Crazy. And but he has this saying, and it's stifle your emotions.
Yep.
And he has this like whole spiel on it. You can actually just look it up. It's a pretty interesting listen. And it's part of the message. It's that the part of the message isn't trying to portray like, if you have emotions, hold them in, don't let them out. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, don't let the little shit get to you.
Yep.
So if you're hangry, when you're hungry and you're hangry, like, shut the hell up.
Yep.
And hold that inside. That emotion does not need to be released.
It's part of stoicism. That's at the end. He's a stoic, and as part of a philosophy, it's Marcus Aurelius. If you don't know stoicism, just Google stoicism. He's a stoic, and that's where it comes from. Like, he legit is one of those people that thinks logically at all times.
Yeah. And so, bringing it back to social media, if somebody says something that you just like, oh, I didn't like that. Well, okay, don't feed into it. That's what they want you to do. Just brush it off your back, or, thank them for their input. Maybe they actually had some truth to the nasty comment that they left, or the nasty tweet that they sent, whatever. Maybe you take that for data. Data is always a good thing. Sometimes that person might be completely off the rocker, not a place, but sometimes there might be some merit to some of the harsh feedback or cynicism.
For sure, man. And I think I've gotten comments before, man. I think we've all gotten some weird ass comments or some nasty comments. And, I think about it, and I try to be not only compassionate and empathetic, but I try to think and be reflective and say, well, shit, like, did I do something to cause this? And if, maybe there is some truth into this, but I don't take it, internally. And I feel like with the tabletop community, the D&D community at the moment, like, it's such a place where and again, it's in every community, dude, this, like, there's assholes everywhere, but it's how we react and really how we should respond to them. Because we should be a place of inclusivity, right? We should be a place where people can come in, hang out, game, do whatever, not be judged. But there's always going to be those people that slip in, right? And we have to learn how to respond to that. But, since you've created the D&D Coalition and you've created this huge network, what are some of the benefits that you've seen in building communities like this? Not only through the D&D Coalition, but maybe at home in your local area. How do you see it being a positive effect on a community?
So for me, the biggest part of it is I am going to do these things regardless. I'm going to play D&D. I'm going to, craft things. I'm going to still continue to do what I do because I like doing it. And if me putting that out there, someone can get, joy, value, if they can get inspiration from it or motivation, that's it. Like, that's literally it. So for me, it's just the fact that I can put this stuff out there and people love it and they're receptive to it and they're grateful for it. Like, that's everything. And, I'm actually I'm a super extroverted, but then, 90% of the time, but then like that 10% of the time, I'm actually super introverted. And, I guess I need that time to like recharge my batteries. And so I don't really, whenever I create a lot and I work a lot, but whenever I have my downtime, like I'm not going through looking at comments. I'm not, watching live streams. I'm not, doing other things that are like D&D related. I'm like really just kind of decompressing. Yeah, for sure. So, and I kind of feel bad because like I love engaging with the community and everything, but sometimes just a lot. Yeah, and it takes a lot of energy to create content, and that as well. And it's time consuming, and so sometimes when you finish that post, finish that match guide, or finish that project that you're working on, you just want to like sit back and just relax and just enjoy other people enjoying it.
As you should. Like, so like the current form of media, which is, social media as we know it, like it should not be, there's a balance between it, like I love the Instagram community that I've been able to be a part of, right? I've had so much fun, meeting people and meeting individuals, Jason from Critical Dice, longtime friend and fellow beard enthusiast, if I might add, all the folks that I've met, right? Lady Tiefling, and again, all these people y'all should check out. But at the end of the day, I feel you, dude. Like you should be able to sit down on the couch with your with that loved one, whoever it may be, or with your family, whatever, and you should just relax. You know what I mean? Because the community it's not going anywhere, but you're also, when you're interacting with people, you're actively building that community up. You don't necessarily have to just, 24/7, I gotta be here. I gotta, run. Like you can't do that. Your head's gonna explode. Like, and I see that sometimes with the D&D. What I've seen, what you've done with the D&D Coalition, is that you've united content creators who are actively building the community in a way. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like you've done that, and it's also, there's only so much you can do that other people, you can't force something on someone in the audience or someone in regards to the community. That's always a big thing that I feel a lot of content creators and developers have in their mind. It's like, how can I continue progressing forward? How can I continue this? Because as we know, things change, obviously, and we've talked about this before. We've been playing D&D for a while, and we've seen a lot of the change. But you've been playing since 3.5, correct? Or before?
Yeah, 3.5 is whenever we started.
Yeah. So you've seen change, for sure.
Yeah. You said something that kind of made you think of something. So this might not be popular opinion, but I think sometime, and like you said something on the lines of Twitter. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes the reason why Twitter can be such that like harsh, environment is because I feel like a lot of people that are on Twitter don't do that downtime. Like they're constantly wound up and in the know and, refreshing the news feed and always commenting on everything. And this might be totally inappropriate to say, but I feel like
no one's gonna judge you.
I feel like it just needs to calm down. Like just love each other. Like, just let that tweet go by. You don't got to respond to every single tweet that you see.
No, not at all.
And that's a big part of why I really do like the Instagram community over the Twitter community is just showing a lot more positive.
I feel the same way about Reddit, dude. Like Reddit.
Oh yeah, Reddit's terrible.
Reddit is like, I remember I posted something when I first started. I said, hey guys, can you please help me out? Thinking like this is like, dude, I got my ass torn in by a bunch of people. And I was just like, holy crap. Like I took it down. And I know I try not to take things down, but I took it down because I said, holy crap. Like I'm never going to hear the end of this.
There's so it was probably like a little over a year ago or something. It was like when I was first building my page. And I did a post that was like, there's a picture of me with like some D&D tips or something. I made it using Canva. It was right when I first started making content. Mm-hmm. And it was like just some general tips for people to play D&D. Posted on Instagram, got like 1,500 likes, a bunch of comments. Everybody's super positive and wonderful about it. I was like, cool, I'm going to share this to Reddit. And oh my God, the hate that came from that post. Yeah. And I don't know if it was because it was a picture of me or if it like what the hell it was. Like someone even like re-reddited it or whatever, and they actually like posted it and then they put like my caption with like the like where it goes like capital letter, uncapital letter, like totally making fun of me, like dude. And he and it wasn't in like the RD&D, it was in like another smaller whatever subreddit, and like I was just blown away. the dude even commented on it, and like I responded back really respectfully. And he's like, next time you think about putting out half-assed tips, think twice and don't put your ugly face on it. And I was like, first of all, I'm sorry. This was just a helpful post. I posted it to my Instagram page and people liked it. I thought this Reddit community might like it as well.
Holy
and then
shit.
I can't remember what he responded with, but I remember after that he did the reposts and like totally just ripped me apart.
Yeah, he memed.
Like, man, it's like this dude is not having a good day.
That's the thing, man. That's the type of attitude, and it's in every community. But like we've been, I could say this, like I've been a proud nerd for a very long time, and that's the type of attitude that's like that makes other people in society think, yeah, these people are weird. These people are assholes, and people within the community, like you have that, and it's just. Damn, I didn't know that far. I know that you were, I remember we texted about that and talking about the Reddit community that like, man, it needs some love or it needs to chill. I did not know to that extent.
Yeah, I'm always super careful with what I put on there now. Like even sometimes, like I'll get inspiration for a magic item or something from like somebody else or, like a picture that someone shared.
Mm-hmm.
And like, usually like it starts as inspiration, then I'll kind of make it my own. And then like Reddit, there's something about Reddit because they just like to share the magic items to their, like they will pull like a post from way over like somewhere else or something that's like very loosely related, like not even where I got the inspiration from, and be like, you stole this from this post. It's like, just because it uses one of the same words is like does not mean that that's been ripped off. And Tim and I, bonus section, we talked about this a couple of times too. Like, always in like Twitter, Reddit, whatever, there's always somebody like looking for that. Aha, I got you. You're a fraud.
For sure. I never thought of it like that, but yeah, I would agree. They always look for something to pick at and to prove you wrong, to prove that you're a sham, essentially.
Right.
And I personally don't really think that builds the community. There's that saying that I know that when we first got to know each other and we clicked because there was that saying that all ships rise together that you mentioned, that your mentor, I believe, spoke to you about.
Yeah.
And it's, I think I hold true to that because when you're succeeding, everyone succeeds. When I'm succeeding, you're succeeding, vice versa. Yeah. And it's that type of commenting or that type of negativity in the community is really where the people who actually preach and say, yeah, there is toxicity in the community, that's an example of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it just all goes, back to what you said, is just having empathy and realizing that if someone's going to leave such a hateful comment or, if they're going to take the time out of their day and their precious life to roast you, then they're coming from a dark place. And you should not be mad at them by any means. And you should just empathize with them. And that's the biggest thing that you can do.
Yeah. And, I heard it once said that, like, we're called to be empathetic and compassionate. Like, as humans, we are, as a community and as a society, we're really called to be those things. And it's the simple things that would actually, if applied correctly, would solve a lot of the problems that are going on in the world. But, with all that being said, like, I do kind of want to shift it to a little bit of a lighter tone, just because, sure. Like, sometimes, like, I feel, especially with everything going on in the world, man, like, there's a lot of great things and there's a lot of great people doing amazing things. And especially in the community, I think we are probably one of the most, like I said before, we're very inclusive of one another and whatnot. But as we know, you've been playing from 3.5 and whatnot. You've seen a lot of change happen. You've seen a lot of change not only in the mechanics of the game, right? Because we know that, like, third edition 3.5, all that good stuff was like very tactical, very strategic, very game kind of chunky to say the least, versus fifth edition that's very role play and story based. How do you see that change? It's just a game. People can say that, but when I interpret that, I think to myself, well, this transformed from just being a tabletop game to now being a way where people can create and express themselves. Like, what do you think about that? Have you seen those type of same instances as well?
So I might not answer your question the way that you want me to.
No, go for it, dude. Go for it.
So, and I think I know where this question stems from. At the end of the day, if you're having fun with it, then that's all that matters. If you like more of like the AD&D type style play, like I know Stephen Pork does, you had on, like the kind of like hack and slash, you real brutal, like, oh, what's that? You rolled a 13, well, you needed a 14. You are now dead.
Yeah.
That kind of attitude towards D&D, I think that's great. Like, that's also awesome. If it all is dependent upon what your personal interests are. So if you do like more of the role-playing, storytelling aspect of it, then great, awesome. I do think that I don't want to say there's more benefits to that, because to each their own, you can do whatever you want. But I do think that getting yourself involved into a character and, having a backstory and feeling those emotions, I do think that is incredibly important.
I agree.
And it gives you this creativity and this like almost excitement of being an actor and, not being yourself for, those 3 precious hours or 4 precious hours that you're playing a game. I think it is super healthy.
I think actually there's more of a benefit to it than we even realize. You know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of hard data at the moment, but I mean, there are people doing research and I've spoken to them, and they've seen a lot of positive benefits to just tabletop gaming. But, to your point, I really think that there is a benefit to this. And I believe that in our society, I don't know. And I don't know what you think about this, because, we both have we've had similar career paths, and we've seen how it's helped us in our career paths, right? Being able to take a moment and again, every player dungeon master knows this feeling of, oh, I've planned this thing out, but now the party or life, whatever, is taking me this route. So now I got to improvise on it, and I got to, kind of pull from that. I think that that's one of the many benefits of tabletop gaming, but specifically like 5th edition, right? 5th edition teaches you, without even teaching you, how to improvise, how to become something that maybe you're not. But in reality, because you're acting brave or whatever, like, it's reflecting who you are internally, whether you believe it or not, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I would 100% agree.
And I don't know, we've spoken about it before, about the industry being a really big industry. I mean, $7.2 billion industry with an increase of 5.8 or something like that billion dollars in 2024. So it's going to be about a 12 to 15 billion dollar industry in the next couple of years, right?
A lot of cheese.
Yeah, a lot. And I mean, it's tabletop. No one would think, oh, tabletop, it's just some whatever. But I feel that, and we know a lot of friends who do this too, I feel that the industry is growing in such a way, but it's almost growing in the right way, if that makes sense. It's growing for the right reasons. Like, people are authentically getting into D&D, and they're able to apply it in their outside of game lifestyle. Because I know for myself, like, I've been able to apply these things as well. I mean, I don't know what you think about that, and I'd really love to pick your brain on that, and as well as give the audience value, because again, we come from a different aspect, both career and socially and whatnot. Love to hear that opinion of yours.
Sure. So the opinion on what exactly? Sorry.
Well, specifically, like, when you're going into, like, you're going into this mindset when you're playing D&D, and you're thinking, okay, like, I have to do this one thing. I'm going in and I'm playing this game, and now, I'm taking it into, I can take this into my other aspects of life, right? So, for example, I've talked about this on the show before, that in my career, in my day-to-day job, I'll say, like I've taken aspects of D&D into my life, right? I've taken that ability to, not only be inclusive to other people but also to be able to think a certain way, to be creative, to think outside the box. And, I feel, and the reason I mentioned the business aspects is because maybe there's someone in the audience right now that's listening to this that wants to start a content creation page or a business around this or whatever it may be. But it's like they feel that they don't, that they're not worthy enough. They feel like they're not smart enough. They feel like, well, I don't even have experience in this. So, my opinion has always been to just do it. Maybe it's because of my background. Maybe it's because of my personality. But I always like to say, just do it. Just go for it. Think of it like think of it like your game session where, if your character, and again, this is my opinion, I don't second guess things when I'm playing D&D. I just say, no, I'm going to go pick that lock. You know what I'm saying? Like, but in real life, we're like, I'm going to contemplate on this and do, I'm going to be really methodical, which is not a bad thing, but it almost hinders us. So, my thesis, I guess I want to say, and I know I'm a little bit long-winded, but my thesis is like, how can we, and I think we should, apply what we've learned in D&D and stuff like that to our lifestyles, to our careers, to just our, personal lives. Like, I think we can do that. It's just actually taking the step to do that. And again, that's why I'd love to hear your opinion on it, because it's just something I've been working on, something I've been kind of thinking and mulling over.
So I think the number one thing that you can do, and there's a million ways you can transfer, D&D to your work life, personal life, whatever. But I think the number one important thing is, what is D&D? It's a collaborative storytelling game.
Yeah.
So in order to do anything collaborative with other people, that is going to involve communication. So I think the number one thing that you can take from D&D, and I always like to go back to this, the Enneagram, if you're familiar with that. Basically,
no, I'm not actually. Do you mind explaining a little?
Yeah, so I am not the person to ask like what exactly it is. We did like a workshop for work, and it was amazing. It was revolutionary. It changed the way that I look at relationships with anybody. So highly recommend. There's a guy, I cannot remember what the heck his name is. He's an older gentleman. He wears glasses, white hair. Brilliant dude. I can't think of his name. He's kind of like he's not the founder of the Enneagram, but he is a very good educator for it.
Okay.
So essentially what it is in a nutshell is people can be divided down into 8 different types. And not going too far into it, there's 8 very broad and diverse types of people. But each one of them is connected mathematically somehow in some way, shape, or form. So if you can identify with a certain Enneagram, and everybody does, it's kind of like a personality test that's super in-depth, then you can realize where you go to when you're stressed out. You can realize where you go to whenever you're happy. And it kind of takes that and puts a quantitative value on what you can do whenever certain circumstances arise. So not only is it, number one, very good in a self-reflective standpoint, but also recognizing other people. So Brian, if I know that you're an Enneagram type 3, which is like you're an achiever, you're business entrepreneurs, you're super high performing individuals, then whenever you're stressed out, I can know from the Enneagram where you go and what headspace you get into. And by recognizing that, I can learn better to how to communicate to you, to talk you off the ledge, so to speak, or to communicate with you in a way that's going to be the most productive instead of not productive or making the problems.
Gotcha.
So in a very brief nutshell, that's kind of what it is. So applying this to your players is, or looking at this from like a D&D standpoint, now you can apply this to your players, is recognizing what excites, Joe, or what makes Natalia tick, or how can I modify this combat slightly so that Alan is super invested. I was pointing to like the spots my players sit in.
No, you're good. You're good.
Recognizing those things and realizing that you can hit of course, every combat and every encounter is not going to be for everybody, but
For sure.
you can put small elements into everything that will tickle or scratch that itch, tickle that fancy for each one of those players. So recognizing those things at the table is huge in, communication, but also in your work life. Susie is super stressed out because her workload's way too much. Okay, what can you do to either A, console Susie to make her feel a bit better, or B, to help her in a manner that she feels like you're not encroaching on her workload and trying to take her job.
For sure.
And it's that right there is, I think, the biggest thing you can transfer from D&D to workspace to personal life. You can do the same thing with your spouse, with your girlfriend, your significant other, whatever. But recognizing who each person is.
And then what that was an Enneagram is what you...
Yeah, Enneagram. I think it's like ENNEAGRAM. Once again, Anthony from Investigation Check is a good person to ask about that.
I'll check. I'll talk to him about it. It's funny, man. That seems like you're almost like creating stats. You know what I mean? Like you're creating stats, and it really clicked because when you know the stats of your other players, your party, what they're good at, what they're strong, what they're weak, whatever it may be, you can build a better party. You can build a better group. And I feel like it's that you can carry that easily into your personal life. When you know how people tick, like you said, when you know how people think, what makes them, the interdependency of society, you know how to communicate with them and talk to them. And that's kind of something, that's the sword I will die on in the regards of, I want people to know if they're entering this hobby or if they're like an OG, that you can easily take this into different facets of your life. And I know for myself, like with 5th edition specifically, I feel like that has made it more present in my life. Like I'm not knocking 3.5. I love 3.5, but I didn't feel that.
Well, nobody loved 3.5. Actually, nobody loved 4th edition.
No,
3.5 was decent.
3.5 was decent. 4th edition felt like that was just harsh. I'm not gonna, for the folks out there who are listening, a lot of good art. A lot of great art. That's actually what's inspired. I want, when Project Terracona is finalized, I love that art style. I want to pay, homage to it. But dude, 4th edition was, I don't know, man. I kind of put that in the back of, I'm not the type of person to say, well, 4th edition, I'm going to burn all my books. No. I like the artwork and I like some of the stuff, but I feel like 4th edition, and again, going back to that change, was almost like that big whoops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was the big whoops within the community. And with I think honestly, 5th edition, I don't know about you, but I think 5th edition actually is kind of like that. We're there. We have a good balance.
Yeah, I would agree. It definitely made it much more, it lowered the barrier to entry and made it
100%.
It took it from like what in the hell is this complex game to, I can do this.
Yeah, and dude, look at D&D Beyond. There's no endorsement or sponsorship here. I'm quite literally saying, exactly. D&D Beyond, I've been able to make a character in 30 minutes. It's easy because of that entry level. You pretty much can, and with the use of technology, you can go in and say, okay, I'm going to build this character really easy so that I can build this backstory. And as a dungeon master yourself, dude, actually, this kind of leads to one of my other questions about backstories. I've actually asked Matt the Pickle Dragon, friend of ours. I met Matt through you, man. So it was,
I got to do an endorsement. Hold on.
All right, go for it.
Matt the Pickle Dragon had just come out with the Prison of Kos. So guys, if you're listening right now, go check it out. It's on Amazon. I think it's on DriveThruRPG, but there
it is. Yeah.
So whenever I read through this, first and foremost, Matt is a phenomenal writer.
Yes.
The straight up honest, blunt feedback. This is just a little review. the beginning part, there's like a lot of lore and history behind it. You can tell that Matt had worked really hard on this, and it's a beautiful story. But like, if you're like me and you buy a supplement, you're probably not going to run it exactly like the supplement. So some of the lore, because you have your own lore, your own background, like your own terracotta stuff. But so it kind of can be just like, oh, this is really cool and interesting. It's a good story. But like, I already have my own ideas for this. Where the magic at is in this is each of the rooms or each of like the plot points or the way that this is written. It's just like the ideas that he has for like when you walk into a room or, an NPC that has like a very specific motive. It's like each room to the next it's not a dungeon crawl. They're not similar. It's like a different thing every time. You're just like, how the hell is he coming up with this stuff? So highly recommend this book, even if you use it for like an idea or anything like that. Like I read through it actually last night before our session, and I was kind of mad at myself because I wanted to immediately like incorporate all of these other quest lines and stuff. But yeah, definitely recommend.
Matt's a beast. Matt is again, and at the time of this recording, he's been on the podcast, and dude, he is the type of writer. Same thing with like Kelsey from the Arcane Library. Like when they collaborated on the lexicon, on the Monsters lexicon, holy crap, dude, that was like, my mind was blown. And I consider myself someone who's thirsty for knowledge. And well, I probably shouldn't say thirsty in today's day and age, but yeah. I was going to say a joke. I won't. I'll keep this, decent. But yeah, exactly. Plus my mother is probably listening. So, hey mom. But like the thing is that like Matt, Kelsey, all these writers they blow my mind. Not because I doubted them. It's because they made me look at things in a different way. Right. And as fellow dungeon masters, as fellow world builders and content creators, lore masters, whatever you want to call it, it's really nice to have that material from other people where you're like, damn, that inspired me. Yeah. And I don't know how, and again, something that we've spoken about too is like D&D prep. Like I think, and then in the community out there, we, dungeon masters, game masters prep a lot, but I feel like people like Matt, I don't, speaking about his supplement and shamelessly plugging him, I don't know how long he preps because I feel like he's built this entire world where he can just kind of like a bookshelf, right? You could just take that little idea, plop it into your world, and you're good.
That is insane. We could literally Skype him into this call right now and have him dungeon master for us, and he would just blow our minds.
Yeah, 100%. Which
that's actually a good show idea.
Actually, it is. I mean, hey man, just remember where you thought about it, and include me.
I gotta write that down.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that would be really. Speaking about that, that would be a dope ass idea to just get random dungeon masters and be like, "Hey, you're running a game now."
Yeah,
I can just imagine they're like in the middle of a meeting.
A 60-minute session,
dude. Yeah, and actually, that makes me think of something on the top, like. With that idea, like, should a dungeon master be able to go like that? Is that like a level of like that you should kind of have that, not personality, I don't want to offend anyone, but you should kind of be ready to go whenever?
I don't think that should be an expectation, but I think that should definitely be a goal.
Okay.
And just being able to think on your feet and being okay with it too, not having anxiety about it, and just being confident in yourself and the people that you're playing with, and realizing that it's all about having fun. It doesn't matter if you're doing a D&D game with My Little Pony, or if that's the plot line, it can still be great. So sure, yeah, everybody should be able to. If not, if you don't have the confidence, you should at least just be willing to try.
Yeah. Dude, I feel like I'm going to get a call from you like next week and be like, Dungeon Master right now, bro.
Ryan, you have 30 minutes to prepare.
I mean, listen, that gives me enough time to bust out all my minis. Actually, not really. I have a lot. I'm ashamed. Actually, I'm not ashamed. I'm very proud of my collection.
How many minis do you think you got?
Oh shit.
Do you buy them by the boosters or do you buy them by the singles?
Ooh, no, I do not. Okay, so I'm a hybrid. I like to bust open blind boxes and dude, they're so fun because it's like I don't know if you as a kid if you remember like just that feeling. I don't know, you collected Pokemon cards or like Magic the Gathering. Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Not Magic.
Yeah, dude. Oh, dude, yeah. Yeah. Send someone's ass to the Shadow Realm, bro. I get you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I remember just cracking open a pack, right? And that nostalgia of what am I going to get?
Yeah.
And just being in that experience of like my friends as, you know, especially
getting pissed because you just have all energy cards and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, just be like, that's just bullshit. Flipping a table. I mean, I remember as a kid, like when Pokemon really came out, and I forget what, I was in elementary school, middle school kind of, but dude, it was like, I remember all my friends just gathering over our shoulders looking at it to see what we got. Same thing with like D&D blind boxes. To this day, like at my game store, shout out to Parker Banner, Kent Wayne, we're like that. We're like, dude, what'd you get? What'd you get?
Yeah.
So I like that excitement. But some of the unpainted miniatures, like the Nulzor's miniatures, the Reaper Bones, the newer ones, I think the Reaper Bones Black or something like that, they're really good and you know what you're getting and it's a good price point, but it's kind of detailed. So I like cracking that open. I mean, I like going into and exploring different packs, like different gaming systems, because I get a game and I get miniatures. So with all that being said, I probably have at minimum like 800.
800. Wow, that's a lot.
Dude, but think about it. Like, look at the game D&D on Instagram, the Canadian group that's been playing for like 38 years.
Yeah.
They have like 30,000 miniatures.
Insane. On the topic of miniatures, I got to give a huge shout out to my boy over at Mini Painty. He is actually painting up a mini. He just finished, and it's shipping on its way here right now.
Nice.
I'll definitely show it off. He painted it for me. Did a crazy job. And then also Courtney over at Figuratively Speaking Miniatures. She is doing a Baylor for me right now. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
She's badass, man.
She is. That girl, I have no idea how the hell she paints so much and pumps out so many minis, but she's phenomenal. So
dude, when I paint, it looks like a third grader, like just swishing paint.
Did you not see my little phallic dicks? Like, come on, that's terrible. Like, yeah, you're telling me I suck ass at painting.
Dude, no.
I still do it because it's fun, but.
No, dude, that's hilarious, dude. Like, and honestly, like, that's better than I was painting a dwarf wizard and the cape looked cool, but then the rest of it looked like shit. I was like, damn, I just dishonored this figure. Like, this is horrible.
I'll put that one in the bottom of the bin.
Yep. Or I'm just going to blame it on like, oh, it's my nephew.
I mean, that's whenever you just like throw some blood effects on it. You take the little X-Acto knife to it, cut it up a little bit, throw some green stuff on there and say, no, he's a mutilated guy. That's all.
Smart idea. Modern problems require modern solutions.
Exactly.
And I mean, and actually, what do you think about with, do you purchase or do you kind of like hodgepodge your mini? Like, how do you collect, or is it like more of a storage thing that you're like?
Yeah, I collect everything. Not everything. I keep it to terrain and minis. So I don't do a whole lot of other stuff. But yeah, I got a pretty unhealthy miniature addiction and also an unhealthy terrain addiction. That's where you get in trouble with the Dwarven Forge stuff.
Dude, yeah.
And, it's definitely a hobby. I love it because it's like you're a big kid playing with Legos again.
Yeah,
but
same.
It's also like, you know, I'll have a cart full of minis for Miniature Mart or something. I'll think to myself, do I really need to spend $150 on minis right now?
Yeah, dude, hell yeah.
Yep, I do. Click.
Yeah, dude, I'm not a dice goblin. I'll be honest with you.
No.
I do have some dice from Jason. Shout out to Critical Dice. And I have a lovely dice bag that was made for me. It's the map of Westeros from Game of Thrones.
Oh, sick.
Beautiful. Yeah. Love it. and I have dice. I got a pound of dice. Like I was like, yeah, sure, I'll buy it, just to have multiples, give it out to players. I'm kind of like, my players are like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like that is
Yeah.
that is the shit games that we play, and we love it. But
Nice.
they always forget dice. They always forget that. That's
The
why
only
I've kept it.
the only dice that I collect. Let me see if I have it. Oh, the only dice that I collect is red dice like this. So, and then what I do, this is actually from where my player was sitting last night, is I keep a jar like this, and this is actually full. All these other dice are gone because we gave out inspiration. But basically, these are inspiration dice, and at the end of every session, I have my players reward each other for cool things that they did.
Oh, sweet.
So the bard of the party, this is his dice for next session. He did very well last night. But basically, like, as we go through the evening, like, they grant inspiration to each other so that they can use them in game.
That's a really cool rule, dude. I like that.
Yeah, I love doing it because, number one, people always like to be given stuff. So, like, as you're handing out the dice, it's kind of fun. Then, obviously, when they use it, they just put it back in the jar.
For sure.
But also, it can kind of, like, highlight and recap after a session for those cool heroic deeds. And then usually at the beginning of the session, I'll be like, all right, everybody's got their inspiration dice. And then sometimes we'll recall things.
So you are actively allowing players to give one another inspiration dice, and you're giving that as well, correct?
Yeah, usually like if there's something that like they don't think of or something, like I'll try to make notes about it, like just so like if people do cool stuff through the course of the session, I'll like remind them, or usually other people bring it up. But what I really like about it is that number one, it allows you kind of reflect on the session after the session's over, which is always kind of cool.
Yeah.
It took like 10 minutes after the session. The other thing that I really like about it is that as a DM, it gives you a little bit more license to be a little bit more, not aggressive, but throw more difficult things at your players.
Yeah,
because,
for sure.
If they're having a shitty roll night, but they have a bunch of inspiration dice, then, that can turn a potentially catastrophic situation into a, doable, the manageable situation with the inspiration dice.
See, that's where that Endless Bag of Dice by Critical Dice would be a really great investment. Just saying.
Well, so for me, it's only red dice.
Ooh, yeah.
So,
well, maybe for other people in the audience, they don't care what color dice. But I like the color coordination because that kind of, in my mind, I'd think, okay, red dice means inspiration. Now I can keep that set. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would help me in my mind.
Yeah, and the other thing too about it is like it keeps them separate from like their dice.
Exactly.
Obviously. So they know, like, okay, the little D6s are basically like any of the red dice are the inspiration ones.
Yeah, and it's yours. Like it's your dice that now you can say, okay, I have my little dice set that I use for my character. Because obviously, like, there's some really beautiful dice companies out there. Again, shout out to Critical Dice. But also there's a lot of handmade dice that are just absolutely phenomenal. And the dice, like, I'm not really, like I said, I'm not a dice goblin, but I can see where you're coming from. Like, you have this one thing, this visual, right? And something we've talked about before, visual aids in D&D. That's why I love minis and terrain. It does make you feel like building Legos again, but it's like you can actually say, oh, I move, 30 feet to the wall and immediately hide or something like that. Like when you have that mini, it's a representation of yourself, but you can actually see the more tactical aspect of the game.
Yeah.
But that's what I tell myself so that I can, justify collecting large amounts of stuff.
Exactly. And the other cool thing about like terrain and minis and stuff too is that it takes out that gray subjectivity, like that gray area of subjectivity.
Yeah.
So, if it's like, oh, you're not quite short enough. Well, screw you, DM. Am I really not? Or are you just mad at me because I killed your demon too early? It's like, no, your movement's 35 feet here on the map. That's as far as you can get. So it kind of takes away that any potential for I don't say resentment, but it takes out that that uncertainty.
Okay, I understand that, and I feel like that's kind of there's a lot of gray area, or there can be a lot of gray area within the game, where you're just like, okay, how do I even, if the dungeon master, the game master is seen as the final judge of a rule, right? or of a position or of something like that, it helps at least to have more data to kind of support well, actually, like this person, can actually take partial coverage because maybe they're a gnome or something. They're playing as a gnome, hiding behind like a giant. I don't know, whatever the situation may be. And I think that's where it helped. Those visual aids help more. And we have a mutual friend, Ray, got DM. Shout out to him.
Ray.
Dude, he makes some of the most badass terrain that I've seen.
Oh, he sent me some scatter terrain. Him and Tristan from Plus One Crafting.
Oh, nice.
Shit you not, I literally use their stuff almost every session.
And what is it made? Is it foam or is it?
Yeah, it's XPS foam.
Okay.
And like if you look at it, you wouldn't think that it is.
That's why I asked, because you showed or shared a picture on Instagram, and I was like, what the hell? How did that ship? That must have been heavy.
Ray, he's probably like one of the most gracious, kind, loving, just all around wonderful people in the community. Because I was completely blown away. I had asked him advice for how to do something, and he gave me the advice. And the next thing I know, he's sending me a picture. He's like, "These are on the mail for." Like the next day, he sends me a picture of the stuff that he built, and he's like, "It's on the way." It's like,
damn.
What? And then of course I get it, and then like you see, it's like looking at like a fifth grader's like finger painting, and then looking at like a Raphael or something. It's like, I'm just gonna put that away and use race.
Yeah, just put it. I hear you, dude. Like, and that's one thing that I don't even know the storage space. I have to ask him that, like how he stores everything, because I just feel like as you build and you're so creative, like him, like he's such a creative mind that he's just gonna build, and build.
He gives away a lot of stuff.
Really?
Yeah, he gives away a lot of stuff, and I know he's got a pretty gnarly workshop at his house.
Yeah, I have seen that. It is pretty dope.
He has so many like unpainted miniatures that he actually has like the corkboard thing that he hangs them up on. Like
I was just gonna say, he can run his own store out of his workshop.
Oh, literally.
Like, and someone like that in the community, I'm just like, damn, that's so cool to have that, because again, I mean, we were talking about the Incarnate Reddit community earlier, how like they're so welcoming, but they're also very constructive in their like critiquing that's not negative. So they're like, oh, like I had an interaction. I don't even remember the username because I would have shouted it out. I shared a map, and the response was quite literally, "This is so cool. I would add this and it would be perfect." But that's just me. That was the comment. Very simple. And I was like, damn, that's really cool. Like, what we were talking about earlier. Ray's like that too. Like a lot of people, but Ray, I've noticed, he's like, bro, that's really cool. Do this, and that, and you'll see the difference. And he's been helping me out with building terrain. But like I said, dude, I'm like a fifth grader. Like it's bad. Like it's really bad. I'm not going to lie, dude. I don't even share pictures because I'm like, I'm not even proud of that.
Nah, man, you got to just let that freak flag fly.
Yeah, I do let it fly in other areas. That's so like with like my minis and stuff with the stuff that I come out with. And I mean, hell, dude, like, that's probably one of the best parts about being a DM is the world building, for me at least. And I think and I would have to say this about you, dude, like I can see your world building in your terrain and in all the like magic items that you create. Like I commend the shit out of it, bro. Thanks, bro.
It's, if there's something really cool, and that's just it, is that I am not, so a while back, I'd say like maybe past few months, not recently, but a few months before that, like during quarantine when we weren't playing D&D, I wasn't posting a lot of content, and it was largely because I wasn't playing D&D and I didn't have the inspiration. And like, although I make a lot of these posts and share a lot of this content, like I cannot take any credit for it because it's all from my players or all from like things that they've done that have inspired that. So that's really where it all comes from.
Now, how many players do you run though? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
So right now we have usually 6. It's been 6 pretty much forever for the most part. I don't like playing with 6 people. I really dislike it actually.
Why so?
And
if you don't mind me asking.
It gets a bit convoluted, and I like to keep momentum and pace and everything, and sometimes that can slow things down.
I got you now. Yeah,
and it's a good problem to have, because I have 6 very invested players, and each is invested in their own way. It's nothing like, it's not that I like hate one player or dislike any of them. It's just that I like things to be, really fluid, and sometimes like, catering to each person, it can just take a little bit of time, and it can just get a bit distorted in it. It's interesting though, because it takes all types. So right now, 2 of our players are playing remotely, and we just Skype them in. It's just kind of the logistical thing that we do. We have like the laptop there, and I set up another camera, and it's interesting because it's still like the same vibe of like, having that they're actually here at the table. But one of them that is Skyping in, he's very quiet, and he doesn't, not that he doesn't do a whole lot during the session, but he speaks whenever he has value to add. And if, an outsider would look at that as like, oh, he's totally tuned out.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You can ask this guy any detail about anything that's happened, and he has a perfect recollection, detailed notes of what happened. So, and like, it's perfect because he, I don't want to have 6 players. Like, he kind of fills that he kind of justifies having that 6th man, because like, he doesn't require a lot of attention from me. He doesn't, take away from anybody else or steal anybody else's thunder. But whenever he's needed, like, he is that dude that you look to for that answer.
He's that anchor as a player.
And so it really kind of balances out. But personally, I would go with 5.
I think that's a good number. I personally DM for 3. Well, at the moment, quarantine has kind of messed everything up. We haven't been able to play in a while, just because a lot of them, like one of my players, his wife is in the medical field. So he's trying to be prudent and say, no guys, like I don't want to go in person because I don't want to expose any of you if anything happens, and trying to Skype in or Google Google Hangouts, Zoom, whatever you want to use. For us, because this is our escape and we're always on Skype, we're on Discord, because like a lot of the guys, we're not only a D&D gaming group, we are a gaming group, right? So they play Apex Legends. I just watch because I don't have the money to invest in another Vice. I can't, dude. It's like World of Warcraft. I love it. I love the concept, but if I were to heavily invest in it, I would, dude. You wouldn't see me. I would have
the same way.
I'd have a Moses beard by now. Like that would. I mean, that's just my personality. So I choose not to do those things. But I feel like 3, 4, 5 players, and I commend you for like 6 players, dude, because like you said, I think it only works when you have that type of not interaction, but when you have that cohesion, right? Kind of that unit cohesion that you guys, because it's 6 players and you as the DM, so it's 7
Correct.
people. Okay.
Yeah, 7 people.
Yeah, you have a 7-person gaming group. Like, that's huge.
Yeah, and I'm super grateful for it. I literally could not ask for a better group. I wish they might pick a little bit more diversity for everything, because they're all melee characters, but it's a fun group to be with.
Now, have you been playing with them? You said you were playing Storm King's Thunder. Were you playing other homebrew things before then, or was this kind of the first game or thing that you all played together?
So this campaign's actually been ongoing for about 2 years now.
Okay.
When I say we've been running Storm King's Thunder, it's very loosely.
For sure.
It's kind of like the main premise of King Hecaton and Eamrith and all that stuff. The dog, I just let the dog in here, he's crying.
No, it's okay. Puppers are always welcome on the podcast.
Awesome. But it has been a lot of homebrew and backstory stuff, because that's the stuff that they like, is that kind of ties into their backstory and intertwining their backstories with the plot line of Storm King's Thunder. It's been a lot of fun.
Dude, I love that concept, dude. Like, I love the fact that you're doing that. And I know you're doing a couple other things, and I won't take your time, but one thing I wanted to ask about is, do you have any upcoming products, or anything like that you could talk to us about? Because again, a lot of my audience, you know, I talk about the D&D Coalition a lot. Like, I probably beat that thing down because it has, you know, as you know, like I love the things that the D&D Coalition is doing. So could you give us a little bit of insight on what else we might be expecting from you and from the D&D Coalition in the next bit?
Yeah, so recently launched a Patreon, still working on getting some more content up there. I'm going to be posting more stuff hopefully this weekend. That's actually on my to-do list today. So any support that I can get there. I actually, I don't know if you knew this or not. I currently don't really monetize anything as far as the D&D Coalition goes. It's mostly free content. Mm-hmm. If anything, I probably spend too much money doing things. But it's just because I love it, and you know it brings me joy. So Patreon is just a way that I thought that would be the most appropriate for starting to at least cover my expenses for some of the stuff that I do. For sure. And also provide some exclusive stuff for people. And then also, I'm actually about to blast out a email today, actually, about a little campaign, not campaign, but a partnership with Start Playing Games. So startplaying.games is a website that can connect players with DMs. And essentially, and Brian, I want to talk to you about this too.
Sure.
I'm looking to put together like a team or a roster of DMs for the D&D Coalition, basically to get paid to DM.
Hey, man, you said DM. I don't even know if I want to get paid. I'll just play. I mean, of course, like kind of like you, I don't monetize from any of this.
Yeah.
Like I probably put too much money into it, and I justify it because I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy minis. I'm going to buy terrain. Yeah. I'm going to put my time into building things. Why not share it with the world? And yeah, that extra, you know, that Patreon money, that whatever money, again, and I play off the whole getting paid to DM. It's a serious thing. That's the things that help me do what I continue to do or want to do. And that's a fantastic idea, dude. That's legit.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I've been working with them over there at Start Playing. It's www.startplaying.games.
Start as an START. Start game.
Startplaying.games.
Oh, Start Playing. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. And I'm going to be doing a blog post, actually, a blog article that kind of talks about how to start playing D&D tomorrow. So yeah, looking forward to it.
That's awesome, man. So for the folks out there listening, they can find you obviously on Instagram, the D&D Coalition. Yeah. I know you have a Facebook group, the D&D Coalition. Basically your YouTube, all that's the D&D Coalition.
Yeah. So anything.com/the D&D Coalition, no spaces.
But I know that on your Instagram channel, you have your link to the website, and you also that website has a link to the Patreon, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So probably the best thing to do is first and foremost go to your Instagram, go the D&D Coalition, and follow it there.
I actually have it's not necessarily a link tree, but if you go on the D&D Coalition thing here, there's a little thing on the highlights called links, and you can press it and listen to some nice, enjoyable music while
there you go,
looking at all of the links.
Damn, that's legit, dude.
It took me way too long to make, but I love it. So whatever. Make a little dumpster fire there for Twitter.
I like it.
So that's where you can find all of the links. And I think there's YouTube and then also a link to the Coalition Market.
Damn, dude, that's legit, man. That's some talented shit right there.
Feel free to check her out.
And the Coalition Market's a really great place to be exposed to other D&D content creators, but also to get your hands on some cool shit.
Yeah, definitely. Feel free to check out. There's a lot of free stuff on there. There's a lot of paid content on there that's actually going to go into supporting other creators. So yeah, definitely give her a look.
Well, that's fantastic, man. Dude, I appreciate you coming on to the show, coming on and just hanging out, talking. For the folks out there, be sure to subscribe and follow my boy Cameron, the D&D Coalition. That, to support folks like Cameron is you're doing a lot more than just putting another follow on that Instagram, right? What you're doing is that you're building a community. And when you build the community, you're building that space for all of us to feel safe and gain together. So with that being said, Cameron, I appreciate you joining, man. I really appreciate the audience listening. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, because that helps me kind of gauge what y'all want to listen to. But as always, folks, until next time, keep gaming.